देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, today we will be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 60. Yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramadhini haranti prasabham manaha. So Krishna is continuing how difficult it is to control the senses. Yatato hi api kaunteya. Yatataha means endeavoring. Yatato hi api, even endeavoring a lot to control the senses. Yatato hi api, O kaunteya, not by ordinary people. Purushasya vipaschitaha, the greatly learned people having all knowledge. A vipaschita purusha, a fully discriminating person with full knowledge, even though he may endeavor to control the senses, yatato hi api, the senses are indriyani pramadhini. These indriyani, the senses are pramadhini, means when they are stimulated, haranti prasabham manaha. When the senses start to stimulate, they will capture, they will carry away the mind. Prasabham, by force. By force, they will capture the mind, throw the mind away, carry away the mind. Even for a man, not just an ordinary person, even a man of full discrimination. And Prabhupada gives the example of Vishwamitra in the purport. He vowed to perform so many austerities to become Brahmarshi. And he was fully in kind of samadhi, performing this yoga. Yoga Indriya Samyama, to control the senses. But then he was deviated by the tricks of Menaka, Menaka to enjoy with him. So it is very difficult. Like that, there are many examples, even of great sages performing yoga practices who are greatly knowledgeable. What to speak of ordinary people of this world? We see every day news that people of higher posts, the dean of such and such college, prestigious university, the honorable this thing of so and so institution, they all fall victim to the attraction of the opposite sex. Even though they may be very knowledgeable, very high achievers, they know the consequences, or they may be yoga practitioners. So Prabhupada basically says, it is very difficult to control the mind and senses without being fully Krishna conscious. So the point is that, as Krishna also said in the previous verse, Param drishtva nivartate. Only when you find engagement for the senses in higher happiness, higher taste, param drishtva, you can give up the lower taste. And Prabhupada gives the example of Sri Yamunacharya, a great saint and devotee. Yamunacharya gives this example. Yamunacharya basically was a king. So, as we know, king means full, of course, he has to rule properly, but there is opportunity for full engagement of senses, enjoyment of senses. He lives in opulence, and he has the opportunity to mingle with the opposite sex so many wives, and ample enjoyment. So that kind of a person, after becoming Krishna conscious, he is saying like this. What is he saying? Yadavadhi mama chetah Krishna padaravinde nava udyatam rantumasit tadavadhi batanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukhavikarah susthunishtivanam cha. So Prabhupada translates it very nicely. Since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it, and I spit at the thought. So, the nectarian happiness of Krishna consciousness overcomes the urges of even that which is the highest pleasurable thing in the material world. Prabhupada also says in Vaikuntha and Goloka, there are men and women, there are married couples, but they find the service of Krishna, service of Narayana is so transcendently attractive, so transcendently pleasurable, that they won't have any other relation, they won't have any other sensual engagement between themselves. But it is said that the women and men, of course, are both transcendently so beautiful. You cannot compare their beauty to this ordinary world. But still, the pleasure they get from serving Krishna is so high that they cannot think of anything else. So therefore, Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is such a transcendently nice thing that automatically material enjoyment becomes distasteful. So this is the barometer. Somebody asked me, Prabhu, how do I know I am progressing in Krishna consciousness? So the answer is given in scriptures. As Prabhupada is saying here, if you are progressing in Krishna consciousness, automatically material enjoyment should become distasteful. Bhaktihi pareshanubhavo viraktiranyatra syat chaishatrika ekakalaha prapadyamanasya yadhashnatah syuhu tushtihi pushtihi kshudapayonughasam. When you progress in Krishna consciousness, it is compared to like a hungry man. Let's say there is a hungry man. And what is the proof that his hunger is satisfied? There is no need to prove. When he eats the food, automatically he will know he is not hungry anymore. Isn't it? Nobody needs to give any certificate. While having the food, his hunger becomes satisfied, he becomes strong, nourished, and he is getting the pleasure. So, tushti, pushti, kshudapayanugasam. Tushti means pleasure, pushti means nourishment, kshudapayanugasam means his hunger is removed. So, similarly, when we take to Krishna consciousness, the transcendental loving service of Krishna, starting with the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we become very satisfied, tushti. Pushti, it nourishes our spirit soul, not the body. Otherwise, how we are able to continue to chant, how we are, no ordinary sound can be chanted so many times. But a devotee becomes so transcendently attracted to the holy name of Krishna. The same Hare Krishna mantra is chanted in japa, is done in kirtan. Why? Because it is giving nourishment to the soul. Sarvatmana snapanam means it bathes the soul with transcendental bliss. And kshudapayanughasam, just like the hunger is satisfied, the material hankerings are all gone away. The material attractions are all gone away. This is a test. There's nobody need to give you any certificate. You can only feel by yourself if you are progressing. And Prabhupada also gives the example of Maharaj Ambarish also conquered a great yogi, Durvasa Muni, simply because his mind was engaged in Krishna consciousness. So here, in other words, Prabhupada gives a comparison between an ordinary person, including a yoga practitioner, up to that of Vishwamitra or Durvasa Muni. Compare that to a Krishna conscious person like Maharaj Ambarish or even Haridas Thakur. There is no comparison. The control of the senses for a Krishna conscious devotee is so easy because he is engaging the senses in service of the Lord. He doesn't have to forcibly control them. The senses cannot bite. It is said that the senses are like a serpent. You know, when a serpent bites, there is immediately danger, poisonous effect. So the senses are like the serpents. And when the sense objects come in touch with senses, the senses bite us and we get injected with the poison of sense gratification. But for a devotee is also seeing these sense objects. How come the serpent is not biting? The answer is that yes, it is biting, but it does not produce any effect because the fangs are removed from that serpent. There is no more strength in that kind of biting. Like we go to this Harinam Sankirtan in downtowns of this state, different cities. So when we chant the holy name, we are chanting and dancing and we are walking along the streets. And on either side of the street, we see these restaurants and very attractive shops selling different things, furnitures and so on and so forth. And people are all eating different kinds of things. And people are all shopping and drinking all kinds of things. But none of the devotees get attracted to any of that. Because we know how miserable it is, how distasteful it is, how sinful it is. Like Prabhupada gives one example. When he went to Japan, he saw this advertisement to come, this hotel advertisement, the restaurant advertisement. They will send a bus and they will pick up, and the restaurant is situated little close to the jungle. And they will send a bus and they will gather people and bring them to the restaurant and send them back. And very delicacies are served. And then they'll send them back and they charge very high price. And what is that delicacy? They will basically capture this wild duck in the jungle and they will fry it and they will serve them, and they charge very high price, and they also provide the transportation. Such a horrible thing. And just because of the satisfaction of the tongue, they travel so much distance and pay so much money. Nunam pramattaha kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaye aprunoti. So Rishabhadeva says, because of this indriya priti, love for our senses, whatever the senses want, pramattaha kurute vikarma, becoming mad for sense gratification, they perform these sinful activities. Kurute vikarma. Vikarma means that which is prohibited in the scriptures, that which cause so much grievous sinful reactions. But people don't care. Nobody is there to teach them. The government is supposed to educate people on the scriptures, on the consequences of committing this kind of sinful activities. The parents are supposed to teach. The society is supposed to teach. The guardians, relatives are supposed to teach. But nobody is encouraging spiritual institutions. And people are in ignorance. And they're all going to hell because of these sinful reactions. And Prabhupada was saying, this kind of things are happening. And even in the flight when he travels, they come and serve this meat. And everybody takes only a small piece. But because the masses of people are taking, then you need to manufacture, you need to maintain huge slaughterhouses. Just see, your palate is only little bit, your ability to eat is only infinitesimal. And for satisfaction of that small ability to eat, that tongue, it makes us commit so many sinful activities. Just because you cannot control the tongue. It all comes down to controlling the senses. And if you don't have experience of Krishna consciousness, you cannot control your senses. Artificial repression can only help for certain time. So there is no other medicine but to cultivate taste for Krishna consciousness. So if you come to our temple or any of our Krishna consciousness movement temples, Hare Krishna temples. So before you honor prasadam, there is a mantra we chant. Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Swalpa Punyavatam Rajan Vishwaso Naiva Jayate Sharira Avidyajal Judendriya Tahekal. So what it basically means is Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave. In the glory of Mahaprasada, glory of Govinda, his holy name, and the glory of Vaishnavas cannot be understood by those who have small pious credits, who have no pious credits. People think, oh, what is this chanting of holy name you are doing? How is it helping you? The world is advancing, technologically advancing. We are going past this traditional orthodox values which made us backwards compared to other advanced nations. Like one colleague of mine, she comes from our traditional Indian background, but she's been living in US for some time, a few years ago. So we are in a meeting and somebody told, oh, this guy practices, Krishna consciousness. And she was saying, oh, you are still in old times. You need to grow up. Like that, she was passing comment. So like that, unfortunately, people have become. So people who have less pious credits, they cannot understand the glory of all this. The glory of Mahaprasada. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Sharira Avidyajal, the prayer that we sing. Judendriya Tahekal. This Sharira, this body is Avidya Jal. It's a network of ignorance. We try to keep this body decorated, bathe and, do all kinds of maintenance. But it's actually dead matter. The moment your soul passes away, nobody looks at this body. Immediately they try to discard the body. The body is full of ignorance. Sharira Avidya Jal. And this Jodendriya Tahekal, this Jada Indriya means these senses which are dull and inert, but they drag us to death. They drag us to death. How they are dragging us to death? Just like this moth. You see the moth. They run into this fire, become attracted. Their eyes become so attracted to the fire, they cannot see the danger. Oh, I'm running into the fire. I'm running into danger. I am running into the mouth of death. They cannot see that. They cannot stop that attraction of the senses with the sense object. They run into the fire and die. So like that, the deer, the hunter plays the flute, and the deer's ears are so vulnerable. and it starts to get captivated and loses its sense of danger. And immediately the hunter shoots the arrow and kills or captures the deer. I was the other day giving the example of the monkey, how they catch these monkeys. They put the jar of sweets. The monkey puts his arm inside, the hand inside, and it cannot, the moment it holds the sweet, the fist becomes larger. It cannot get it out of the mouth of the jar, but it won't let go because it wants to eat that sweet. And then the person comes and catches this monkey. See how our senses, the other example I was giving is eating this wild duck, the fried wild duck. People are coming, or all horrible things. They cannot perceive that they are committing so many sinful reactions. They are not only facing death very soon, as Krishna says, eating all nonsensible things cuts your duration of life. So, Jodendriya tahe kal, the senses are dragging us to death. Jive phele vishaya sagare. So in this way, this jiva is thrown into this vishaya sagara. We tend to think, oh, this world is beautiful, this life is beautiful. But we forget every time the miseries, adhyatmik, adi bhautik, adi daivik, the miseries of our body and mind. We try to live a life of compromise, isn't it? Everybody is living a life of compromise. They have their own set of mental problems, physical problems, societal problems, relational problems, egoistic problems, or problems caused by others, neighbors, mosquitoes, the government, the taxes, or the miseries caused by natural disturbances, the floods, the earthquakes, tsunamis, hailstorms. We are living a life of compromise. We don't realize it. Life is still beautiful. Finally, the ultimate distress is that of death. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. We celebrate the birth of a baby so much. We all congratulate. But the baby is crying. The baby is spent 9 months in a closed chamber, cannot even move. That's the kind of distress. And nowadays, unfortunately, the babies are killed in the womb with abortion. They don't even have the guarantee that they will come out. That's the distress of birth. Distress of old age, disease, and death. They're all distresses. But people are happily thinking they are enjoying. But actually, this is Vishaya Sagara. This is a miserable world of material existence. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Tara Madhye, in the middle of the senses are dragging us to death. And out of all the senses, he identifies one sense which is so dangerous. What is that? Jihva, our Jihva, tongue. Taramadje, Jihva, Ati Lobhomai, it's very greedy and voracious. Sudurmati and wicked. Because of the taste for the tongue, we commit all kinds of sinful activities. So, in order to conquer this tongue, how do we conquer this tongue? Takejita katina samsare, Krishna becoming Krishna Badodayamoy, becoming very merciful, Koribare Jihva Jai, in order to conquer this tongue, Swaprasada Anna Dilobhai. He has given the nectarian remnants of his own prasadam. Say Annamrita Pavo, this taste the nectarian remnants of offering to Krishna. And chant Radha Krishna Gunagao. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra, chant the Kirtan of the Lord. And Premedako Chaitanya Nita and dance in ecstasy. So when you start doing this, you can control your tongue. When the tongue is controlled, all these senses, they're all in one straight line. The tongue, the belly and the genitals, they're all in the same line. Everything starts with control of the tongue. If tongue is let loose, everything is chaotic. But if tongue is controlled, everything becomes controlled. So that is why Prabhupada says, to control the tongue, only two things. Chant the holy name of the Lord and honor Krishna Prasadam. As much as possible, if you do these two things, to that extent you can progress spiritually. This is a science, simple science. But people cannot do that because they cannot control their tongue. They cannot control the urge of talking other than Krishna consciousness. They cannot control the urge of eating other than prasadam. But these two simple things, if we can do, we can easily conquer tongue and eventually all the other senses. So this is the formula, simple formula. If we don't do this, even if we may become the learned scholar, the great yogi, you cannot control the senses. So I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? You can feel free to unmute yourself. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.